But what went on here in Barrie, Ontario, behind closed doors, would lead to the death of one teenage boy and drastically change the lives of 3 others.
It was the worst moment of my life.
The only words I remember from that night was David saying, "Please help me." He was bleeding everywhere. I didn't really know what was happening. Then I heard Jordan yell, "He has..."
This is David Roman in a TikTok video shot shortly before his death.
We can only explore so far. And once we hit that, if we don't find intelligent life, it's just like...
In terms of standards of care, there's none, because the licensing, in my opinion now, is about liability. The licensing is about how big is that bedroom? Is there a window in that bedroom so if there's a fire they can get out? How much space is in the home for how many kids? It's bricks and mortars. It's an institutional solution to a human problem. And that's because it's about liability and the system is about money.
I recognize that we can do better. I want to do better, and that's why, as part of modernization, we're continuing to consult with the sector to work together, to collaborate, and to ensure that the children in care are receiving the best care possible and achieving the best outcomes in life.
David has now been gone for 2 years, but his room remains unchanged.
And I always keep the lights on in this room because he didn't like when it was dark. somehow they should have been informing us if we want to continue keeping our son there, if he will be placed with a person with a history of mental illness and violence.
Right.
Absolutely.
If you'd known that somebody in that house had a record of this sort.
David would be home the same day we knew that it's not safe. Because David was there not because we wanted to punish him.
David's parents, Elena and Antonio Roman, came to Canada as refugees from Russia. Divorced when David was 2, they still happily co-parented their son.
Когда я ложусь спать, я каждую ночь о нем думаю. Он был сладкий, светлый ребенок.
But despite David's innate intelligence and curiosity, he had a big problem with school.
So he went to school more to socialize than to learn, but he was learning at his own speed, but he was learning.
High school was when David began experimenting with marijuana. For his Russian parents, an absolute taboo.
And that's why we were very, strong in our opinion and harsh on David.
And it's why they reached out wherever they could for help with their son.
And I didn't know how to act, how to reason with him, what to do. And then it was the first time when I called child services. And I asked them for help because they must know how to deal with children who has issues. But it was, in my mind, it was my last hope.
Elena and Antonio kept their custodial rights, but David ended up here, an hour's drive away, at a rental property in Barrie, used as a for-profit foster home by a private company called Expanding Horizons Family Services.
I'm here in Richmond Hill with my good friend, Deputy Mayor Carmine Pirelli.
Carmine Pirelli is a local politician and a pal of Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
Doing a great job
Thanks,
at the
Deputy
province, and we continue to support you
Thank
in
you.
all of your endeavors.
And for the past decade, Carmine Pirelli has also been the president and chief manager of finance for that private foster care company, Expanding Horizons. Their website proclaimed a specialty in behavioral management and emotional regulation, exactly what David Roman's mother Elena felt her son needed.
He will be with the knowledgeable people who knows how to make sure that kids are learning. We thought that he is at the secure, safe place.
But from the beginning in Barrie, all was not as David's parents were led to believe. For example, the so-called foster parent, Jordan Calver, was only 24.
So he didn't impress me as a father figure, let's put it that way. I couldn't, I was surprised. But then I thought that maybe, because the age gap, Jordan would understand David more than I could.
According to the kids who lived in the house, there were just a few rules. No smoking pot on the property, take turns taking out the garbage, and obey the curfew enforced by the foster parent, Jordan. Both Jordan and David's parents have filed lawsuits. In court documents, the aspiring chef, with no background in foster care or parenting, claims his only training was a couple of days at the local library. He says he was promised there'd be no foster children with violent histories.
So there are no standards for personnel. You can get the same qualifications that would get you a job at your favorite fast food place, Burger King. In terms of standards of care, there's none. Because the licensing, in my opinion now, is about liability. The licensing is about how big is that bedroom? Is there a window in that bedroom so if there's a fire they can get out? How much space is in the home for how many kids? It's bricks and mortar. It's an institutional solution to a human problem. And that's because it's about liability and the system is about money.
Is there an argument that putting him in a foster home wasn't the way to approach that?
There's no family support system really in Ontario. The kids in our care, 40% of them graduate high school. Compared to almost a little bit over 80% of their peers. So if the parents' goal was to help them get to school, the last place in the province you might want to put them is in the care of a child welfare system.
They took every opportunity and every hope he had away.
I can't.
And then they expected him to be able to pull it all together again, distant from his community and friends and family, where the saying is it takes a village to raise a child, but they shoved 4 kids in a building with 1 adult, you know? Like, none of that makes sense to me.
It was 8 months after David's death that the company applied to renew its foster home license in Ontario, which was approved.
I recognize that we can do better. I want to do better, and that's why, as part of modernization, we're continuing to consult with the sector to work together, to collaborate, and to ensure that the children in care are receiving the best care possible and achieving the best outcomes in life.
The 3 Ontario Children's Aid Societies, responsible for the care of the boys in the Barrie foster home, responded to us by saying this: serious systemic issues, ranging from the quality of care provided in residential services, the need for more robust staff training, and the need for an improved system of licensing and oversight, must be addressed.
Hello, is Mr. Pirelli there, please?
As for the responsibility of expanding horizons, we reached out repeatedly to company president Carmine Pirelli, eventually going to his house.
Is Mr. Pirelli around?
But to no avail. And we attempted to reach program director Frank LaGreco on numerous occasions.
Is Frank around, please?
LaGreco's lawyer advised him not to speak with us. And though Carmine Pirelli is deputy mayor of Richmond Hill, Ontario, David Roman's hometown, and though David died in his company's care, Pirelli never got back to us either.
When you stand back now, do you become more calm about it or angrier about it?
Angry about it.
Angry.
Of course, angry. I'm